Now, let me ask you this, for the viewers who may not recognize you. Like I said, I've been following you for years. Let them know what your name is and definitely where you from.
Yeah, my name is Soren Baker. I'm a writer, author, producer, director, journalist. Originally from Maryland, but I live in Los Angeles now, and started writing professionally in '94 as a teenager, and then been doing everything since then. I got Unique Access Entertainment on YouTube. You can check me out there. Just got my new book, Chronicles of the Juice Man, I did with Juicy J. I got the Gucci Man Guide to Greatness I did with Gucci Mane. And I got the History of Gangster Rap that I wrote that's out in stores worldwide now. So yeah, I've just been putting it down, living and loving rap ever since I was a little kid, man. So it's a honor and privilege to be doing it, be
Wow.
part of it still.
Right, right. That's definitely an honor. Now I gotta ask you, coming up in Maryland, when did you get exposed to hip hop? Was it something that was going on in the community, or did you tap into it through the TV or radio?
It's funny, I don't remember exactly the first time I heard rap or where I heard it or how I heard it. I just remember when I was 10, I had heard some rap music and I really liked it. But back in these days, there wasn't that much rap in the first place. So I just asked one of my friends one day, I was like, hey man, uh, do you know anything about rap? Do you like it? What's up with rap? And he's like, man, there's a lot of rap. So this was back in the days of cassettes. So he made me a cassette tape that had Dana Day Nightmares. It had LL Cool J, I Need a Beat. It had The Show by Dougie Fresh, featuring MC Ricky D and the Get Fresh crew with The Show. It had Big Mouth, Houdini, Freaks Come Out at Night, Houdini, You Talk Too Much, Run DMC. So it had all these great songs. Basketball by Curtis Blow. And at that point, I was very, very much infatuated with rap. I fell in love with it that day. I love the sound of the scratching. I love these stories that were so amazing that were being told by Dana Dane, by UTFO, by Houdini, by Run DMC, and Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. And just the sound of it, it was just a mind boggling, mind blowing thing. And from that day on, man, I was like, man, I got to listen to, study, get as much info as I could about rap. And I was 10 and I was in Maryland. So really wasn't on TV. It was a little bit on the radio, as I soon came to realize by asking my other friends and just turning back in the day when you listen to the radio in the way we did with stereos, you had to like turn the knob and all that stuff. So that's just how I got into it. And from that day on, man, I was like, this is my thing. I love it.
That's what's up. That sounds like that golden era, man. You named some giants, so you tapped in right on time.
Yeah, man. I was very fortunate because the thing that I loved about this era of rap when I was listening to it was that the artists were very distinctive and different. And as I got to learn more about rap and hear the Fat Boys, they had some comedy, they had beatboxing. As I heard more of Curtis Blow and more of LL Cool J and more of Dana Dane and more of UTFO and more of Houdini, they just had a lot of charisma, a lot of style, a lot of flash, a lot of they had great vocabulary. And then as I listened to more music and more artists and got exposed to the Cold Crush and got to hear Treacherous 3 and Kumo D, then I started hearing people with these, immaculate vocabularies and different types of flows with Grandmaster Caz. And I just learned and got to hear all this great music very early on. And that's also something like I could get anything I wanted from rap. If I wanted to hear about sports, I could listen to Curtis Blow with basketball. If I wanted to hear uh amazing story that sounded like a cartoon with all these different sounds and different things, I could listen to the show with Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew featuring MC Ricky D. If I wanted to hear a song that I could relate to, unfortunately, it was Nightmares with Dana Dane. If I wanted to hear scratching, I could hear Roxanne Roxanne, which also doubled about girls not giving you the time of day or playing you, which I could relate to. So it's just all different things and all different types of reality and things I was seeing and living in Maryland that it just just resonated with me in a way that no other music ever had.
Right, right. I know a lot of people feel that way. Now, can I ask you this? You mentioned that you was a producer. When did you actually get involved in the art form? Did you start off producing, or were you b-boying, doing graffiti? How did that come about?
Well, producing, I mean more of producing, documentaries and films. So, people, if they look at IMDb or if you happen to see them, I've written, produced, and directed stuff. I did some DVDs with Tech Nine back in the day, the Tech Nine Experience and the Psychumentary that I wrote and produced. And then I co directed the Psychumentary. And then with Chingy, I did a bonus DVD with him. And then I wrote and produced for VH1 a special that he had or that we did on. They had Behind the Music, but they also had Ultimate Albums. So I wrote and produced the Ultimate Albums episode that we did on the Marshall Mathers LP. So it's like a Behind the Music, but just on one album. And then I got a bunch of documentaries I'm working on, and feature films and TV series. And all of those I'm involved as a writer, producer, and some of them as a director. So I didn't produce music, but I did sell a lot of beats for a producer named Legendary Trackster. So the biggest thing that we did together was One and Only by Mariah Carey featuring Twister. And then I sold a beat for Tech Nine called My World that has Brother Lynch hung on it. That was on his Ever Ready the Religion album. And then I sold like beats to Sibo and to Prozac, to the Outlaws, among others. So I didn't make any beats, or I did make a couple beats, but nothing good enough to try to promote. But then once people realized, like, hey man, they would be asking me my opinion all the time. And I was in the studio with Traxter and EC Illa one day. And I just asked Trax, I was like, what do you do with all these other beats, man? These are amazing, but I don't think people have heard them. And he, told me he would rap over them or try to sell them or whatever. I said, I bet you I could sell some. And then the first beat I sold was to Mariah Carey for the One and Only song with Twister. And then the second song was the Tech Nine My World. And then we did a whole bunch of stuff. So if you guys like Traxter's production and you haven't heard those songs, I highly recommend you checking them out. And yeah, so I've done a bunch of different things, and it's been, I've just been fortunate, man, very fortunate.
Yeah, man. People dream of even meeting one of those people, that you've mentioned. Big shout out to Traxter, definitely underrated. My first introduction to him was definitely with the Adrenaline Rush, a classic
Yeah,
album.
that's a phenomenal project,
Now,
man.
yeah, yeah, one of my favorites.